You're listening to the Hot Topix Podcast with Psycho 4081, the lovely Lady Lamb Chop, and the fabulous Felonious Feather. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Hot Topix Podcast. I'm here, Psycho 4081, and I'm with
Lady Lamb Chop. Actually, I'm just Lamb Chop.
The lovely Lady Lamb Chop. Triple L's. So today we have our special guest, Mr. Nick Stewart, and we're going to, obviously, you know, from the past podcast, we've been inviting county council candidates to come in, and we have someone here who's going to be who is a candidate for Baltimore County Executive.
Nice.
So we're going to listen, ask some good questions, I hope, and then, you know, see how this works out, and hopefully you guys will share and get a good understanding of what this candidate is about.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have a conversation.
Okay, so the first thing we want to ask, because everybody wants to know, you know, who, for people who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what specifically prepared you to run for Baltimore County?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And first and foremost, I'll just share that I am a husband and a father of 4 kids.
Wow.
Who are 9, 8, 6, and 4.
Ooh.
And the younger 3 are all boys. And so it is mania in my house.
Your poor wife.
On any one day. It's never clean, but it's all right. You know, it's a blessing and it is wonderful. And so I grew up in the Timonium area of the county. And my wife and I, when we chose to build our family, we bought a home in Cowdensville, which is a historically black area in the Arbutus kind of southwest area of Baltimore County.
Okay.
And we just ran out of room. We had too many kids. And so we found a home in Catonsville. We've been here now for 7 years. And this is kind of the forever home. And we've loved raising our kids here and having small town America in the southwest part of our county. And, you know, over time, and over that period of time, before kids, during kids, I served as vice chair of the Baltimore County School Board. Okay. And so schools are near and dear to my heart. You know, 74% of our kids in Baltimore County public schools live in poverty, which hopefully we can get into. I did 8 years on the Workforce Development Board for Baltimore County. So connecting that pipeline of education to opportunity was huge for me too. I've been on the board of the Southwest Visions Foundation for 5 years. That's our community development organization that really speaks to how to revitalize some of the underserved areas in our county over here. And then, 4 years ago, I started a advocacy group around housing and revitalization in the county. We saw this housing crisis coming, make no mistake. Mm-hmm. And so we tried to get the county out front, and hopefully we can talk about it. But unfortunately, the county went the wrong direction in these last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. So what made you decide to run for county executive?
Yeah, for me, it was kind of a put up or shut up moment. Right? I have been working and spent my life working on the very issues that have formed a basis of a crisis. And to be clear, it is an affordability crisis that we have in Baltimore County. Right. It's hard to live here. Mm-hmm. And we are losing population for the first time in 100 years. More people are choosing to leave than to come.
Wow.
And that's real. And that says something about what's happening in our county and the way people feel. And so, I realize that we need somebody with a plan who can turn a moment of crisis that we are in into a movement for change. This is when change is possible, is in moments of real crisis. And someone who can move with urgency, who believes in radical transparency. And, I'm very proud that we are the only campaign with a comprehensive plan. Full stop, right there. This isn't about what I've done, for the last 10 or 15 years of my life. This is about what we are going to do together in Baltimore County.
That's great. Okay. So what do you think is broken about how Baltimore County functions right now?
Oh, my gosh.
Was that a loaded question?
I mean to be glib. There's a lot. And look, at the end of the day, the thing I hear the very most as I travel around the county, talk with moms and dads, elected leaders, community leaders, it's a sense that we can't change it because this is the way we've always done it. And the truth of the matter is that has led us right into the teeth of an affordability crisis at this moment. Look, 74% of the kids in our schools live in poverty. It's never been harder to buy a home based on income. Incomes have fallen for 7 years in a row in Baltimore County.
Wow.
2/3 of our people are choosing between groceries and other essentials right this minute. I mean, trying to shake people awake and saying, hey, look, it is hard for you. We know that, but it's hard for your neighbors too. And enough of this is happening that we are finally paying the price for it, and people are leaving and trying to find opportunity elsewhere. So as a county, what does that mean for us? It means we got to make it more affordable. It means we got to make it more inclusive. We lead the state of Maryland in racial profiling, and that is not the right place to be. We talk about, issues on immigration and new Americans, and we just entered into this MOU with ICE. We talk about how the federal government's trying to wipe away the existence of LGBTQ people. That's wrong too. So inclusivity is a big part of this, and making it more modern. I mean, look, we operate like we are a sleepy country town, and it is about who you know in this county more than it is about the value, what you're talking about. We got to change that too.
Absolutely.
Well, you opened my eyes to some things I did not know that about the percentage of kids in poverty.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know the racial profiling thing, and that's coming from a retired police officer.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
And a Baltimore County resident.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like just on police, there are there's tension there, and we have to have police trusted by the community, because that is the way that the public safety program actually works. Public safety is one of the number one issues for people in our county. And yet we are down 300 police officers from where we should be. We only have 1,900 spots, and we are missing 300. We will be missing almost another 300 in 18 months due to retirement. So guys, that's a third of our police force gone.
Yeah.
We have got to turn the ship around, start doing the little things right to make big things possible. That's what we're not doing at this minute.
Okay. So I'm going to get into the police thing and public safety a little bit after this.
Yeah.
So I want to know, what are you going to prioritize in your first 100 days if elected?
Yeah, so there are a couple things right off the bat. And first and foremost, we are talking about getting rid of something called councilmanic courtesy. Now, I know it sounds like we're in the weeds here, but it's this idea that the law allows each of our council people throughout this county to control everything that happens in their part of the county like they're a fiefdom king or queen. They control it all. You know what I'm saying?
Warden of the North.
So we got a problem with that. And I think it's unconstitutional, and I think there's a legal basis for it. I'm an attorney. That is what I do, my day job. Actually, I work with startups. I work with venture capital. I work with those who are trying to create new ideas and new jobs. But part of that is being able to read the law and knowing that is backwards. And we've got to get ourselves out from underneath it. And so radical change when it comes to the way in which we do our decision-making for land use, development, zoning, planning, all of that. And that's part of the other part of that equation too, is first 100 days, we are going to have to overhaul the entire way that we do land use reform and permitting in Baltimore County. And to say that we are going to finally start getting our departments to work with one another. And in fact, overhauling the structure of the departments will be huge.
Okay.
We passed a housing ban in 2024 because we were so scared that Black and brown kids would start going to schools where affluent white kids go that we decided we're going to pass a housing ban. I'm going to overturn that. And I'm going to work really hard with our council to make sense of our past and to say things like this can't be who we are as a people anymore, because it will chip away at our character, and people feel and see that as a county. So that's very important to me as well. And then starting and really trying to push hard for universal pre-K in Baltimore is huge for me.
Yeah.
So those are just, that's just a little bit of it, if I'm being honest with you. We talk about jobs and creating a new jobs department. We do jobs like nobody else in Central Maryland. Everybody else has a department that is dedicated just to jobs. We don't. We add it with workforce training. We add it with tourism. We add it with arts and culture. And it doesn't work. It should work. We got to make it work. That's up to us. I want to start building $200,000 starter homes in the inner Beltway communities. You think about Baltimore Highlands, you think about Middle River, Lansdowne. We have opportunity to build prefabricated homes that are pre-approved using redevelopment authorities in Baltimore County. There's so much work, guys. There's so much we can do.
So I had a question. You mentioned the housing ban. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
For sure. So what it's referred to is the APFO law, which stands for Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance. And the idea is that instead of this being a planning tool that helps us understand what kind of investments we need to make in schools and roads so that if we do grow or add new housing, it doesn't overwhelm us. It's a good idea on the surface, but guess what? It's used as a tool of discrimination. And the Urban Institute put out a report, made it very clear that there's nothing more important to a child who is struggling than having access to good performing schools.
Right.
And that's how you keep those achievement gaps from opening up, or you help close them. And we have weaponized this tool to prevent growth, to prevent new housing in those areas of the county that are more affluent and have better performing schools. And so this is something, guys, that Montgomery County, was about 2 years ago, overturned unanimously. They said they had it on the books for years. They said it doesn't work. It's not only inequitable and unjust, but it also kills investment in our county. No one wants to do business here because they can't.
Right.
And so Montgomery County doesn't do anything unanimously on their county council, but they understood that this had to go. And yet we pick up that ball and we say, you know what, it's great. We're going to do it here. We have got to move forward. We got to turn a page on thinking that we can't afford anymore.
So you were saying that, Montgomery County doesn't do anything unanimously. How are you going to work with people who kind of disagree with your plans or your thoughts and ideas? How will you move forward or work together with them to get things done?
Yeah, so that's a great question. There's a lot to unpack there because first and foremost, we're going to have a 9-person council. We're going to have a lot of younger people. We're going to have a lot more diversity on that council. This is our opportunity to make the most of change in Baltimore County. And I think the people who are going to be filling those positions are a whole lot less scared of the others. There's a real otherism in our society today. I think one of the reasons Trump was so successful is he blamed, the working class issues we're facing on immigrants or people who don't look like, white working class folks.
Right.
And we got to get beyond that. And so I think there's an opportunity to do that with the new people coming in and then to get focused on the things that affect people the most. What is the biggest driver of cost of living? What makes it feel so hard? What has caused property taxes to increase 25% for the assessments year over year in Baltimore County? It's housing. And so trying to come together over basic issues that will make people's lives better will, I think, start to really get outside of the political back and forth and the hyper-partisanship to get focused on those things that matter most for people, including those people who might not believe it, right away,
right,
but realize, change might be okay. It might be a good thing. And I know people are afraid of change. I do. But there's a fear of change that I think is giving way to a fear of doing nothing.
Okay. And that comes with the new people coming in, the
right,
newer and younger
right,
people coming in who are not scared to change.
Fight the power.
I think that's right. But I also think it comes to a place where, look, I've said it before, I want to say it here. I'm willing to bet my whole administration on being able to bring a town center and revitalization to Liberty Road. And it's not just because it's overdue. It is. It's been 45 years
Wow.
since the first revitalization plan we put into effect. And we've had 3 subsequent plans after that, and almost nothing has happened underneath them. But it's to show the rest of the county that in a place that wants that kind of change, and it does, it's ready for it, it's a lot less scary than we think it is. This isn't about, investment or growth for the sake of growth or new construction for the sake of new construction. It is about bringing out the best of us. No more sort of long-term storage, fast food, gas stations, all this low common denominator type of development. We can do more. We can do better. We got to show people what we mean when we talk about revitalization. It's not about destroying their community. It's not about destroying green space. It's about bringing back the very thing that made us so special and have so much heart in the first place.
And it's funny you mentioned the long-term storage. That was one of the complaints I've heard when I was speaking to community groups, and just so happens I had to use one recently, and I realized I went to 4 different ones because I had the wrong one, but they were all
lined up next to each other,
next to 3 of them right next to each other, and one was like maybe a quarter mile away from it, all on Liberty Road. I was like, I just passed 6 altogether just from me getting from point A to point B.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And we wonder, guys, why people feel left out or overlooked, and why we, I talked to lots of folks in Randallstown. We're knocking lots of doors in Randallstown, and there is a sense that where the money has gone to Towson or Owens Mills, it hasn't been possible to do it there. And I think if that's not a reflection of institutional racism, I really don't know what is, number one. But number 2, hey, this isn't mysticism. There's reasons why we don't have a high quality grocery store. And it's because they don't want to be the only one. They don't want to be on an island by themselves. And the way you get around that is you show them a plan and you say, hey, look, we have a town center plan that we are going to hold ourselves accountable to, but we need a few anchors. We need groups like yours to come in to invest. This is the timeline for it. This is who we're talking to. And by the way, we're going to make it legally binding that we have to make decisions that are consistent with this plan. We don't do that in this county, to be very clear. We willy-nilly make decisions that basically favor the interests of those who have the ear of the councilman. That is not okay.
At all.
Yeah, that was another complaint I've heard before as well.
Right. This isn't anything new. Yeah, you're definitely not saying anything that both of us haven't heard before. Yeah. Which is kind of sad.
Well, look, that's just it. As much as it's sad, I am incredibly hopeful. I'm talking to people at their door. I talked to an older gentleman who, his wife recently was diagnosed with cancer, and all he wants to do is be able to bring her to a jazz club once again on Liberty Road. It closed several years ago, the one that was there that they were going to, and they just want basic amenities and a quality of life.
Right.
And we're not asking the world. We're really not. And so I'm hopeful because I think little things make big things possible, number 1. Number 2, in times of crisis, when it's gotten bad enough, this is when we step up and say, we don't have to do this anymore. We are letting this happen to ourselves. We can make a change. We have to choose it, but we can make a change.
Nice.
Okay. It's funny. I like jazz clubs. And I had actually, at one point, I actually thought about putting one in Randallstown.
Oh.
But I had this little small minor detail.
Money.
Yeah. She knew. Yeah, they're not cheap.
It was dreams.
That's right. And look, it's funny you say that because when we talk about development too, people wonder, well, does this just mean national chains? And the fact of the matter is, it can't. This can't be what that's about. Yeah. And so I think people want experience, and that typically comes with stuff that's authentic and that's local. That tends to be what does better now in these types of town centers. But also, you have some state programs that I think the county should match, which they're providing matching financing for small businesses to come and occupy these spaces and to be the beating heart of these communities. There's a real focus now, once again, on local and authentic. I think we should be supporting that.
Yeah,
I agree.
100%.
Now, you mentioned about the people were concerned about the crime,
right,
in our area, and I think that's pretty much
it's everywhere.
You know, it's perception. But in regards to public safety and policing, do you believe that Baltimore County policing is effective right now?
No. Look, I don't think the police themselves would say that. And that's not a dig on them. I think they don't have the tools they need to do their job. Full stop. And I think we ought, look, let me take you through a couple items here. But, we talked about how far down we are on the numbers. But morale is in the basement with our police officers. They don't feel like they have what they need to do the job. And what I mean by that is, for example, other jurisdictions have a take-home car program. We had one for a blink of an eye, and then we closed it. No one else can get new cars.
I didn't know that.
It's really expensive to live here, and so most of our officers don't live in the county,
Right.
Because our public servants can't afford on their salaries to live in the places they serve. That's no good.
Right.
Anne Arundel County, they issue 5 duty uniforms and 2 training uniforms to their officers. We issue 2 duty uniforms, meaning they don't have a full week's worth of gear,
Wow.
and no training uniforms. They have to buy their own. So what happens is they end up spending $1,000 to $1,500 per officer equipping themselves, and they don't get the same colored blues. It doesn't look right. They don't feel like a team. Their overtime is ridiculous, but maybe that's in part because they're not allowed to take their laptops out of their cars so they can finish their paperwork for their shift in the hospital while they're waiting for, a suspect to have treatment or in central booking. They don't have the rifle rated plates that they were promised. They're issuing gear that was best of as of the 1970s for, the working belts. I mean, guys, like on and on, they don't even have enough licenses for the technology, the gun crime intelligence technology that they have. So they ask each other for the passwords, like, hey, can I log on to your account? I mean, what are we doing? This is a professional force. It used to be among the best in the country in the 1990s. We have got to empower them to do their jobs once again. It will build trust. It will build confidence on both sides of that equation. And we'll have a real opportunity to rebuild trust too.
Okay. So in regards to, well, we know the police are down. We said 300.
That's crazy.
Spots.
Yeah.
It was like 200 something when I was leaving.
Wow.
How would you address the rising crime without over policing certain communities?
Sure. So I think we talked about hiring enough police officers. And as Democrats, we oftentimes overcomplicate this issue. And I think good public safety starts with having good police officers and enough of them. And so providing enough of them with modern equipment, this is uniforms, this is cars and car radios, this is having them do real policing while also increasing the civilianization of other positions. So police are just doing what police should do, reimagining what our sheriffs should do. So our police are taking on responsibilities that sheriffs in other jurisdictions are doing. We can balance out that work. We can add in and provide enough of the anti-crime technology. So think about like ShotSpotter, which we're getting rid of in Baltimore County. My goodness, we're going backwards. Think about Nighthawk, which is a technology that works with cell phones and other tracking, so it can quickly identify violent crime and offenders and target them. Think about working with our state and ATF with respect to gun crime intelligence. I mean, we don't have these protocols in place. And at the same time, the way in which we need to approach policing is with our state's attorney's office to target repeat offenders and to do it collaboratively. It is typically a small number of people in any one precinct that are committing an outsized portion of the crime. And so like you talk to a police captain and they'll tell you the dozen to 2 dozen people who are causing most of the crime.
Right.
But they kind of have that list. And so working with them to get those people off the streets, to get them prosecuted in a way that provides permanence to the solution is important, but also like not criminalizing children. I do think that we have an opportunity, if the record is the right one, to intervene and to say we're going to provide. Roca Inc. is doing this in Baltimore City. The Choice program at UMBC is another great alternative here. We're not going to provide the same basic level of intervention to every kid. For those who need more, we're going to provide more. And we're going to be able to see them as individuals and try to share those wraparound services and almost bear hug these kids to try to give them the best chance they have for an off-ramp of the choices that they have been making. And look, there's more to this conversation, but part of this, guys, is about revamping something we started under Johnny Olszewski. It was called BC Stat. And it was this idea that we should measure and understand not only the amount of crime that we have and the trends, but also what tactics we're deploying, what resources are we using, and to try to pull more people and force collaboration around that table, both across jurisdiction, so this is city and county, and at different levels, this is state and federal. That program needs rejuvenation, it needs help. We can bring that to the equation to make this all work together.
That sounds really good.
And expensive.
But it can be done. I feel like if you have money for some things, you have money for other things, because there are some things that we're spending money on that we could not. And I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to switch gears just a little bit, speaking of money. I live in a community where, at least in the last 5 years, I want to say, families have left because taxes are just too high. And most of them, 2 of the families were retirees. And the other 2 families was, like you said, looking for a better education for their children. But primarily, they were just like, Maryland taxes are too high. And is there anything that you can do under your administration to help relieve some of that?
Yeah. So some of this is at the state level, no doubt about it. But we do have to admit that we need to be a county that's more affordable. And obviously you've heard me say that word quite a bit, but that includes taxes too. I mean, look, one of the biggest drivers of unaffordability, as we know, is housing. But the reason for that, for those who have houses, is because their property tax assessments are going up every single time. And last year, we saw a 25% increase in property tax assessments. That is punishing ultimately for people, especially those on fixed incomes.
Right.
And so we're going to be nudging them out of the county. Those are our seniors. At the same time that we're preventing younger working families from coming here because they can't afford the cost of the home in the first place, which is in effect kind of a tax on them. And so, look, we've got to come to grips with that issue in particular, because I think it will drive a change in the conversation and a change in the way people feel about their pocketbooks. But yeah, as the 3rd largest jurisdiction in the state of Maryland, we're going to have to advocate very strongly in order to try to push back against those things that make us feel like the pocketbook is really, really tight. And working with our state partners to convey that to them will be really critical in all of this. And, I don't want to lose the point, but the fact of the matter is we have an opportunity as a county to show people what it looks like to have enough to go around. And so, if you have a great paying job and not just a decent job or security in your job, it feels different. It feels better. I mean, right now we're losing jobs and we're losing people. We're growing at less than 1% from GDP, less than 1%, right? If you compare us to other jurisdictions, we should be growing at closer to like 5 or 6% per year. Wow. And we're not. All right. So we do those things. We focus on giving people more money. I think it's going to feel a lot different to live here.
Okay.
Agreed.
And giving people more money in what way? As making it them keep it more in their pocket, or giving it to businesses to incentives?
I think, well, look, incentives do play a role in all of this. I mean, as a campaign, we've come out in favor of public safety, in particular, credits related to housing. So we get more of our public safety professionals living in the communities that they serve. So yes to that. But if you think about the the conversation around economic development, people don't just, I mean, they need jobs, but what we need to provide are good paying jobs.
Right.
And so, having low expectations and, low denominator type of jobs isn't going to be sufficient. We need to use the economic assets that we have, and there are many, we can talk about it, to be able to attract and better compete across the state and across the region for employers who should be coming here in droves and who are not at this moment.
Why do you think that is? Is it the cost?
Yeah. A big part of this, and this is in the comptroller's report, but the really prized employers, the ones you really want to come and anchor and build onto the clusters of growth that you have, they look at where their workforce is or their potential workforce is.
Okay.
And if they see that people are being priced out of homes, or they see that people are spending way too much time in their commutes, or that they can't get to the workplace, those are the two biggest drivers. It's the reason why when the rest of the country in the last 8 years was growing at something like 13.9%, Maryland was growing at 1.6%.
That's crazy.
We attribute that largely to housing and to transportation. But to be very clear, the biggest thing we need to do in Baltimore County is actually have a plan for economic development. We don't. And if you look at the 10-year plan we just completed 2 years ago, it's a plan that's meant to have a vision for the next 10 years in Baltimore County. Under economic development, it says, we, Baltimore County, lack a comprehensive vision for economic growth. We should have one. I can't agree more. And that's rare to see in a bureaucratic document. But that's how desperate we are, right? That's how it calls it out. And so you talk to potential employers, and that's what they say they want to see. They don't want to be by themselves either. We can use Trade Point Atlantic to have advanced manufacturing, to have data science and data analytics all together with a global logistics hub. We can use Kaiser Permanente and MedStar on the southwest side of our county, together with St. Agnes, to build a cluster of healthcare and healthcare research and innovation. We can use the center part of our county where there's advanced manufacturing and gaming and technology in order to build a cluster near Towson University, using all those resources to build a pipeline into tech, which is really exciting. We have the west side with IT and financial services. Guys, we have everything we need.
Some years ago, India were just pumping out engineers. They were giving them, free college universities were pumping out engineers, and what that did was a lot of other big corporations relocate into India because they had a vast supply of engineers.
Gotcha. And they knew they had people to fill those positions.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So I know that strategy does work.
It does. And, on that point, we have in the state of Maryland, we have 25,000 open cyber jobs. We literally don't have the skills to fill them. And so you look at BW Tech, which has a cyber incubator. It incubates other types of companies too, but really getting serious about building the right partnerships to create a pipeline and produce many more properly trained people. I mean, come on, that is a huge opportunity for us that we could take advantage of. We have to think strategically and intentionally around the types of investments and the types of competitive outreach we are using.
Education. So is that what we're coming up on next? Education. Okay. What role should the Baltimore County Executive play in fixing Baltimore County public schools? What are the challenges?
A real one, to answer your question. I think if you ask the other candidates in this race what the proper role is, they'd say there is very little of one, because what the county council and the county executive do is they pass a budget, and then they just ship that budget off to the school board in order for them to be the ones to dole it out and implement it. And that's it, right? And you kind of have this hands-off approach. And that is, I think that has led us to a kind of a parade of horribles and a situation where people don't know who's responsible for what.
Right.
And in a sense that, we can't get ourselves out of the mess, but we can. And so to be very clear, as county executive and as someone who was vice chair of the school board, who led the, buildings and contracts committee, and who understands where the money goes, we have got to get serious about making the right investments and facilitating those right investments. And so, stay with me here, but as county executive, the first thing to talk about, as we did, was universal pre-K. Because by the way, that's not even necessarily within the purview of the school system in isolation or just in their discretion. We have an opportunity to talk about how do we prepare kids who have yet to come to school, to be ready to learn, and to make sure that gaps don't open up, to make sure that working families who are making really hard decisions about whether even to have one of the spouses go to work, because maybe it's just more cost effective for them to stay at home. How do we make sure they have an opportunity to have a career or two? And that's by providing true universal pre-K in Baltimore County. And then we continue, right? And we think about trying to work and create community schools throughout our county. They're on the chopping block. They're expensive. We just started to roll them out in Baltimore County and in the state of Maryland. And we have to do that in a really thoughtful way. I fought very hard for them when I was on the school board. And these are schools that provide wraparound services to families. And they provide, incredible opportunity for stabilization of communities, which leads to more investment in those communities too, to be very clear. We can also create what I'm referring to, and it's using the BC Stat platform, but create a school stat. Have information shared with our teachers who can then help make decisions around the table in order to have our teachers be policymakers, not just people who have to hear what's what and implement. They have an opportunity to lend their expertise into the decision-making process. And why does this matter? It matters because look at what happened with their contract this last year. They had a 3-year contract, and in year 2, the system comes back and says, we're cutting it. We can't afford it.
Yeah, you didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
One of the things the teacher said is, okay, we understand budgets are tight. Let us help you figure out where to find the savings. Let us tell you what things the system can afford to lose, but still keep, high quality educational instruction top of mind. And we didn't do it. We held on to that information. We didn't share it as broadly as we need to. I mean, this is a problem. So unless we do that, we still have a situation in Baltimore County where they polled the teachers. They said, hey, who's thinking about leaving this system because it's hard to be here in the next 3 years? 70% of teachers polled raised their hands and said, I'm thinking about leaving.
Wow.
70%?
Yeah. Yes.
Jesus.
Wow.
So we're in trouble.
Yeah.
They don't feel seen either. Look, as much as I can try to boil down what we're trying to do here, but modernizing government means seeing people and allowing them to be decision makers, taking power, if you will, out of Towson and trying to share it more broadly, put it into communities. So you have neighbors who are developers, you have teachers who are policymakers. This is the way it should be. You have small business who can be the anchors of future developments. This is what we should have.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The teachers.
That's very scary.
And they have a very difficult. I actually wanted to be a teacher at one point. And
never.
I remember, as a police officer, I was in the schools too.
Right.
I was like, my job is so much easier. I was like, I don't want to do this. They really have. Right. So with that said, being that is a difficult job to have, and they're cutting. I know it's always a money thing. How are you going to support the teachers and still hold the
budget?
Yeah, hold the schools accountable.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a big mountain to climb.
It seems like a tightrope.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about a few things there. Because number one, if we do grow at closer to 5 or 6%, it's hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue increase that we're talking about. As far as how to actually invest in the things that matter in Baltimore County, we got to grow. We have to economically grow, to be very clear. and our tax base needs to become larger, not smaller. It's becoming smaller right now. Wow. So that's a problem. Number two, SchoolSat will be the accountability tool. It will open the doors and say, hey, look, everyone gets to share the information, and we're going to be able to interpret it much more quickly. We don't need to be afraid of bringing people into the information to see where the savings are, but also see, like, are these dollars effective? But the final thing is, I want to, two more things. One, I want to invest in those things that matter and that pay a return on the investment. Not every government dollar that we spend is a dollar that is an investment, but some are. Each dollar that's spent on early childhood education returns $4 to $7.
Wow.
Okay. Each dollar that is spent on a community school returns $9 to $15 in economic activity. Okay. These are investments in our county that we need to prioritize and find a way to make. And then finally, I personally am going to be spending 1 week each year as a substitute teacher, in schools across our system, and I will be requiring my senior staff to do the same. Nice. We are going to be in these schools. We're going to understand these issues in a way perhaps we haven't in the past, and we're going to force it. And through that, and there's going to become a grace and understanding with our decision making that will much better reflect the fact that we are all in this together.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, did you say substitute teacher?
That's what he said.
Okay.
The brave soul. Yeah. Well, he's got 4 kids. He might be able to manage it.
Come on. I'm used to the noise, I'll tell you that much.
Yes.
I was able to, when I worked in the school, I was still an officer, but while I was there, the administration let me substitute classes because they knew I liked it. And it was very rewarding. Rewarding. That was the part that said I can do this, but then, there's been those days.
It's always going to be those days.
Like, you guys don't get paid enough.
But you got to see it firsthand. Like, you know what it,
right.
And that service goes a long way. And the one thing we're going to be asking people, I'll be starting something that we're calling the 1 hour initiative. And the truth is, we're going to be asking every single BCPS parent to volunteer at least 1 hour per month in their child's school.
Oh.
And that's going to be the big push. Now, some parents are spending hours and hours in schools. I get it.
Right.
But the point of this is, when you have a certain critical number, enough people who care about their local school, it changes everything for that school. Everybody has better grades. Everybody has better mental health. And all the boats rise all at once. We can do this. We have to just ask people and set a clear target and a goal.
Sounds like a plan.
I like that.
I'm going to take a different turn, and that was a pun intended. What's your plans for our roads, water, and infrastructure?
Because we're bringing more people in. We try to bring more people in for that.
And just
tax base.
Listen, I came down Liberty Road to get to you today. I hate Liberty Road with everything that I am. And partly because the traffic is so horrendous.
Yep. Traffic is awful. You got speeding. It's one of these unifying things in Baltimore County. You go over to Dundalk and you want to talk about hey, there's a way to revitalize Dundalk and to bring real vibrancy to the east side. And the first thing they kind of come back with is fix our roads.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Tell us you care about us.
Yeah.
Show it. And I think that's real. And look, we are going to be fighting for a change in the road money formulation, which changed. It's called the LOTS funding formula. And we're going to have to, work with our state legislators to do that, to be very clear. And so there is a big fight to be had at the state level. But there are things we're doing in Baltimore County. Like, we could, for example, have many more circulators than we do right now. But in order to unlock that money, we need to pay for it for 3 years. And then at that point, the feds take over and they start paying for your circulator system. It's what the city of Baltimore does. We can do it.
I didn't know.
We just don't.
I did not either.
So money on the table, right there. But then what I want to do is I want to make greater use of, our bus system and our light rail, and expand light rail where it is, possible to do so. But, because the reality is, you have something like Lutheville Station, which It's a proposed development, which is on a light rail stop. And nothing has happened for 6 or 7 years because the community has been so up in arms. And there's been fear of bringing, the city to the county, all that. And it just can't. We have to get past that. And I will fight like hell to make sure that we do. Because then we can show people what it means to have a connected transit system that young people actually want to use, by the way. This is what young people typically want to do. And so, making the right strategic investments there, having bus rapid transit, which is bus that has dedicated lanes, which are newer buses you can pay on your phone. It feels far more, like a train. That's important. And this is what Pittsburgh has done. It's what Denver has done. And then, finally, a couple of things. One, we've got to finally get off the dime on having a regional water and sewer agency. We've studied this to death. Baltimore City and Baltimore County should be collaborating. They should be leveraging money. They should be leveraging that capital to make investments. We're not doing it. We ought to be doing it. And so I think that is ripe for the taking. And then finally, using real technology like other jurisdictions are doing to optimize traffic flow in real time. I mean, they are using quantum computing. They are using the best of the best in their infrastructure and have, a center where all this information is being pumped into, decisions are being made instantaneously on the fly in order to improve in real time the traffic flow that exists. Yeah. We can do it too. We ought to be doing it. This gets better for people.
Right.
We can modernize.
Okay. So with the influx of new people, and we're talking about the roads, I, for one, really care about the environment and the, climate change and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how, as county executive, how will you prepare the county for those type of climate impacts, like the flooding and things
extreme
like
weather events?
Right.
Yes. So much to say. I know I talk a lot, so I'm sorry about that. We have a lot to say, though. And the truth of the matter is, like, this is one of those issues that defines what kind of place we're going to hand off to our kids. We love this county, and it's really special. I mean, 2/3 of our county is somewhat preserved from development because it doesn't have access to water and sewer from the city. And that means that, we've done the right steps early on to try to make growth be smart. But, and this is a good time to mention it, on my website, nickforbaltimorecounty.com, we have plans for everything we've talked about, but especially and including creating a cleaner and greener Baltimore County, really. And what it starts with is using data. We're going to launch something called Climate Stat. It will track things like watershed health, the infrastructure upgrades we're making, the environmental justice issues. Look at Turner Station and how the flooding has just wreaked havoc there.
Yeah.
We're going to track our clean energy installations and how well we're doing against our goals there. And I think that's very, very important for us to be able to track this. But we have an opportunity to do the basics well, too. Like we don't have a green infrastructure network in Baltimore County. 65% of people inside the URL, so where most people live in Baltimore County, 65% of them don't have walking access to open space. They can't be outside in green space.
Right.
Howard County has something called a green infrastructure network. It means they connected their parks, their trails, their scenic ways, and they made it so that people have much more access to experience the outdoors, which also improves mental health, by the way. Mm-hmm. And so we ought to too. That's low-hanging fruit. We should be updating. Oh yeah, there you go. Pun intended. There you go. We should be updating our water management practices once every 4 years. We're not doing that. We ought to focus on resiliency in a way that we're not right now, but we could be if we really got into the weeds of this. Mm-hmm. And keep in mind too, guys, that development, like we're talking about, actually in most instances makes sustainability more possible, not less. So in Montgomery County, They had like a 40-acre parcel of just concrete, straight concrete, because it was a dead mall. And they turned it into a mixed-use space. You know what I mean? Like live, work, play,
Okay.
learn, education, all of it in one place. And they reduced runoff by 80% by doing that. Okay? They created something beautiful, and yet at the same time, they made their environment better. That's pretty amazing. And, in Baltimore County, for energy specifically, we have an opportunity to do an audit of all the rooftop that exists, particularly government buildings and school buildings, but also commercial, and say, hey, look, can we get serious about deploying a solar energy grid that will help us really, provide cheaper and better energy for our environment, at least in Baltimore County? We should.
I like that.
Yes.
And I think what that takes is creating a new position, which other counties, like I said, have done. And that is a renewable energy czar. And so it's having a person dedicated to delivering these projects across the board in Baltimore County. So there's a lot to be said. I've only covered a part of it, but the whole thing is opportunity. It's green shoots. It's blue ocean. It's all in front of us. We have every chance to make the most of this if we square our shoulders to it.
Some good info.
Very good info. And unfortunately, we can't ask all the questions that we want, which means we probably will have to have you back.
Right.
But let's get the last few in, and we're going to wrap up. So for me, I heard a lot of good things. But why should our voters trust you over your opponents?
Yeah, so what it comes down to is if you believe the county's headed in the right direction and you think, more of the same is going to be good enough, then you're not going to choose me. You're not. You have 3 people who are running on the county council who have been in elected office for, on average, 10 years each, full time. And that's okay. But what we're promising is something different. We're going to move with mission and with urgency. We're going to move with radical transparency, and we are going to remain laser focused on affordability and inclusion and making this county more modern. And why us? Why this movement that we're building? It's because we are the only ones with a plan. And that matters. It matters more than it ever has. Maybe, a popularity contest in years past has been good enough. It's not now.
Right.
So we can do this. We just have to choose it.
Okay. So where you mentioned you had some other information, where can voters learn more about your platform and how they can get involved?
So thank you for asking. It is nickforbaltimorecounty.com for the website. We're on all the social media platforms. You can sign up for our emails and kind of stay in the loop. We are growing every day. We're getting more and more volunteers every single day. We'd love to have more people join us. We need it. This doesn't happen by itself. Johnny Olszewski, our last elected county executive, he won by 17 votes, guys.
Wow.
Remember that. 17 votes. So your vote matters, and who you talk to matters. Each person in this county matters. We're going to be talking about those issues that I don't think get talked about enough as a team. We can do it now. This is our moment.
Okay.
Great.
Nick for
Baltimore
County.
Okay, I got you. Now, we're going to do a word of the day. So every month, and we've been kind of slacking for this, but every month we have a prize for our subscribers, and we're going to use the word of the day is going to be Nick. Word of the day is going to be Nick. So
yes, that's good.
At the end of the month, the first person who emails us at Hot Topix, that's TOPIX, podcast@gmail.com with the words of the day for the month of December, they'll actually win a surprise.
Yes.
Surprise prize.
Surprise prize.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us. You had some.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you guys caring this much and loving this county. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you, and for taking out. I know your schedule is really busy now, and it's going to ramp up some more
Soon.
So we'll have to get you back. Maybe we get everybody back. Well, not back.
Right.
The 4 candidates to start trouble.
Yeah, that's I was going to say. You sounded like you're starting trouble, but we're gonna let Nick go. Wishing you a wonderful holiday season, and thanks again.
Thank you, and you as well.
Thank you, family, for listening to the latest episode of Hot Topix. As usual, listen, like, share, subscribe. Ta.